My name is Sharif Benson. I am the co-chair of planning. I'll be serving as the commissioner who will be handling or overseeing this meeting tonight. I'm joined by my other commissioners here to my left. At the beginning of this, we generally introduce ourselves so that everyone is kind of aware of who we are. I don't have a question prepared. Bob usually does, but that's perfectly fine.
We're good.
Brevity's good. Okay. Then I will just let folks introduce themselves very quickly.
Roy Lowenstein, District 4 Commissioner Zoning Chair.
Tobias Katz, District 1 zoning committee. Joe Weingart, District 2 community member.
Casey Chris, District 2 Commissioner.
And so our first case is at 1351 East Fulton.
Yep.
If you want to go ahead and come up, applicant, and then I will pull up your information here. If you could hand those out to them.
I got a lot of copies.
So the way this works is you'll have 3 minutes to kind of describe your case to us. It's very helpful if we know kind of like what your plan is, what the variances are, and then we will ask you some questions and then kind of move forward with the case. Okay. So whenever you are ready, and if you need any of your documentations pulled up, just let me know specifically, and I will. Well, actually, let me just do this right now. And I will start a timer whenever you're ready.
This proposal is for a small duplex on a vacant lot, that's R3. So we'll have a 10-year LOR agreement to keep both the the rent affordable for 10 years. The issue is obviously it's a residential lot, so we need to turn it into for a duplex. And then we have some issues with the parking because maneuverability, so if we can't really squeeze 4 lots on there, so we have to squeeze 2. If you go further down, I think a couple of pages, it shows how the parking will be angled. That was some ideas from the city. That was their idea they gave to me to kind of make sense of just the house size of the space. So yeah, that was Tim Dietrich actually gave me an idea, and they were like, you can't do 4, so you can use 2, and you could probably put it at an angle. Just because there's maneuverability with that lot being at the alley. So.
And is this the correct lot that I have pulled up?
Yep.
The opposite side, yes, correct, that side.
Oh, this side. So.
No, just keep scrolling over to the right, that one.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Understood.
There it is.
So the parking will go over the rear of this lot.
Yes. We're gonna be at the rear.
Since we have that 10-foot variance in the back, that's why we did the angled parking there. And then we will be able to accommodate, there's actually larger trees back there that we'll be able to save that we won't have to cut down for the project as well.
That the description of the lot, I want to give you a full time. You still got some time left.
No, that's a full description of the lot for it. So that's how we're able to accommodate the parking to at least get 2 spots off the back because of the variance with the 10-foot. Just for that side angle, we wouldn't be able to put a garage back there, and that's why the city recommended us to meet it at the angle.
Is the garage denoted anywhere on the site?
So we aren't able to do a garage back there due to that variance that we have with the city. So that's why the city recommended us to do the parking at an angle.
We wanted to do that, but we couldn't do it
due to, so we have a 10-foot turn right there. So they want to make sure that nothing comes in within 10 feet of that, which is what you're looking at right there.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. So nothing comes in the way of that. That's why we did the parking more towards those steps.
This is not part of the lot?
That is part of our lot that we own. We just won't be putting a garage or anything on there because the city does not want that touched for maneuverability purposes.
Maneuverability in the alley?
Yeah.
I'm not understanding this at all, I'm sorry.
Just when people
We
go around and
normally
turn the
see-
alley. Yep.
We typically see either garage or just 90-degree parking right off the alley. And you've got a 35-foot lot, right? So you could do 3 parking spaces right off the alley.
Because we had one that was tighter than that in Old Town East.
Yeah, and it's a 25-foot alley at the back. Wouldn't it make more sense to just park 3 cars or cross the back of your lot?
We were going off of what the city was telling us is what they would want, and that's what they came up with for us.
Just seems very odd, like, to put parking like that off the 16-foot alley. And sure, you have such a narrow alley there that if you're using it, you need maneuvering space on your site. But if you have a 25-foot alley at the back, is there something wrong with that alley to use it as the access for parking?
I'm just assuming it has to do something with size. The original site plan had 4 car spaces on there. Then Tim Dietrich was like, I don't think you'll be able to do 4 with the maneuverability.
But you're only putting a duplex on there. You're gonna be able to get approval with 3 spaces. I mean, if you're asking, are you asking for a parking variance?
Yes.
Is that one of the variances?
Yes.
It's like from 4
Well,
to
I have to say, I don't understand this at all.
That is
Like-
right. I mean, we don't understand as well. This was from Tim Dietrich from the zoning that actually suggested, yeah.
Dietrich's been there a long time and he knows what he's doing better. Does anyone understand
Did
this?
they give you any other kind of information on, other than maneuverability, like any specifics at all? Because I'm speaking at as a loan commission member here, I'm planning, but we would probably be okay with 2 spaces, but if the more spaces you can fit, the better. I just don't know what's wrong with that, and maybe I don't understand something. More than happy to be educated, so I want to like open it up to see if is it we can get information.
Well, yeah, I agree with,
Top down view, I can try.
There's that jump drop, there's a picture of the top down view.
Perfect. Just scroll down. Ah, there we go. Okay. And that would be back here. And that tree is not or is.
That tree is currently there. correct?
Okay, because they would see the site.
so you lose a tree, but I mean, the other thing you could do is if you've got 35 feet of lot width,
Mhm.
right? So even if you wanted to use Ford Alley as the access point, you could pave the whole 35-foot width of and come at it from Ford and have some maneuvering space behind the 20-foot or 18-foot parking spaces. You would have that run across the space. It makes no sense to me at all that you would use.
Funny thing is,
piece
their
of the
meeting about
backyard.
it is today.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I hear you, you're wanting to get approval from Mr. Dietrich, his support, sure you do.
yeah.
But I'm thinking, when you go back and talk to putting a duplex on an R3, we see those all the time. So there's nothing particularly odd or unusual about your request, the setbacks. I don't know, front setback, the side setbacks. It's nice that you see the yard, but I'm sure we'd rather see the parking lot. Whether it's east to west or north to south, you can get 3 spaces in there. No sweat, So you go back there and say, the nearest area commission is urging me.
Now, that's actually
At
nice.
the back.
We don't have quorum for planning, so
Yeah.
we can't vote tonight and give you this letter, but if the next part of the process would be the zoning site visit that would be scheduled for.
Yeah,
What's that?
does anyone know what is it?
Which would be for the future, but you could take back some of these comments to them
Yeah.
today, they can watch this video, they can listen in and take that feedback of like, hey, the commission is saying that they'd like to
When is
see
the,
maybe not this really
second-
awkward parking.
Yeah.
And see if that's also feasible for you, because I don't wanna suggest that
Thursday.
anything that seems outlandish.
January
Yeah.
1st is Thursday.
So, yeah.
Okay, yes, the general body's the 8th. Is the 8th? Okay, that's right then, all right.
But
Yeah.
I bring that up about the Old Town East project because it was the alley, there was an alley with a T, and there was a garage right almost at the T, and then there was another parcel where they were wanting to do a garage and a 3-story. And that alley had a mirror, so you could see around the corner, and this is like way more open than what I think was Gustavus, is where it was at.
Well, I mean, this just doesn't seem like there are any issues associated with parking in the back.
Was your proposal ever to not do a garage? Was it?
Not to do a garage, but do a parking before, yeah.
So you did.
The way we,
propose that.
without the garage, if we put the garage in, it wouldn't make the project affordable. We're trying to keep these rents at 60 AMI, 80 AMI.
Yeah, I
So-
was just thinking if they were thinking you were set on just having a garage, maybe that's why.
No,
they
we
didn't
just
do
told
it.
him we were going to do a parking. And when he was helping me out with plans and the site planning, this was his suggestion based on what he saw as for like variance and code. I mean,
Yeah.
she brought it up to me that she thought
I
like,
said that makes no sense
sense
as
to
well.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all on the same page
Yeah.
here, so I'm urging you to go back to Dietrich, tell him none of us understand this idea.
Yeah.
We all think we should park. Regardless of whether it's oriented either way, you've got an area of say 5 square at the back. And you could run whichever direction he thinks the parking works best. Great. Just pay that 35 feet at the back and have some green space. You've got a nice deep lot.
Yeah.
And,
Because I think if you come down Ford Alley off of Fulton,
yeah,
the way this is situated, that to me is more of a maneuverability issue than having it come off the wider alley in the back.
So I would say, take these comments back to them, and then
Yeah.
before the site visit, where
Yeah,
someone will actually vote.
that's right.
See if there are any
That's
changes.
really
or
good advice. It'd be
modifications.
great if you can get some clarification on this issue before the January 3rd site visit.
I think I can. They said they were gonna do a meeting today, and they're gonna submit some notes based on some of the stuff they saw.
So this is a typical 2-story double.
Yep.
2 bedrooms side.
Yep.
And it looks like from the drawing, or
I'll
the.
give you like an example of one that's been finished in North Linden.
That's what that is. It'll look similar in the
Yeah.
back.
Very similar, yeah.
Obviously, what it looks like is key to our, but it always helps to.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you look at these elevations, obviously that unit's gonna fit anywhere you wanna put that in the city. It looks like so many others.
Elevations. Do you wanna open up
Anybody
the comments for the audience as
Ask
well?
any questions here?
Or either of the hours one way.
No, neither of the others are with Mike.
There's no signs.
Yeah.
Well, there's no vote gonna be taken here tonight,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Planning is gonna vote, zoning votes at the site visit meeting. So this is more just an information session.
Yeah.
And,
But they do need the postcards.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Oh, before we do that,
Yeah.
I'd like to open it up to
Yeah,
folks in
absolutely
the
right.
audience. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, it's an open forum at this point. If you wanna. No, then I will just scroll through the rest of these. Okay, that's it. That's really the end. All right, cool. So yeah, if you want to describe the postcards and then.
yeah, so you may not be familiar with this detail. So prior to the site visit meetings, we invite the neighbors, and it's the same, it's the owners, there may be renters there, and they may not know that this is what we do, because we have no alternative, really. Same group of people that will get the formal notices before the case goes to city councils and the council variance, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
The use variance. So that list is printed out here, Mr. Ovato, so he prints that for you. And so you need to prepare these postcards, so these will get mailed to the owners within 125 feet, so that people have an opportunity to come to that meeting. They have inspect the thing. Sometimes no one shows, sometimes we get a few people, hard to tell. So we need you to complete the postcards. So you'll take the stickers that have the name and address at the front, and you have to fill out the back. And so the back of it says it's the Near East Area Commission, and the date will be January the 3rd, and we'll do it at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you put that time in there, and the location is the site itself.
Okay.
So you need to fill out the cards. You don't have to do it tonight, but we would like you to get it done by next Tuesday. And you'll return them to Mr. Ovalle out there. And if you come here during business hours, he works out of the neighborhood services office here on this floor.
Is that still gonna be enough time though, just because we have to?
We do, I would encourage, if possible, you even get it done maybe by tomorrow if you can, and get them over here so we can get these in the mail. But we usually set the next Tuesday as the deadline. Given how the postal service is, is these days where
Yeah.
mail delivery is sporadic. They do their best, but that's what it is, so we encourage you to get this filled out and back to Mr. Ovalle so we can do that.
Cool. And do you folks have any questions? Okay.
Okay, there you go. You could just stay and do it tonight if you wanted, but if you want to take them with you, I totally understand.
I will give you another tip. I know this is zoning, but
Yeah.
if there's any markings on the site visit, like things that need to be clearly marked to help them envision the site outside the site, I would do that. It makes it very easy for them to kind of review the case and to talk to you about it if they can see what it is that will be done.
One of the things that I couldn't tell entirely from looking at this, that we will want to resolve is locating the, actually, is there a site plan on this?
Yeah, it's at the back there. Yeah.
Should be second subset.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah. You put in the parking.
Okay, that's not really, what we're missing is showing your building where it's gonna go in relation to existing buildings on either side.
Should be the little squares section, if that helps, what says two-story duplex, is that what you're saying? Or what?
You're
Well,
waiting to see what's.
Here's the point. The point is, we wanna see whether your setback from the
Oh, okay.
street lines up with the other buildings. Is it your intention to line it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is lined up with the other two.
So what we would love you to do actually is to provide, I mean, this is a boundary survey, I'm super familiar with that, but if you could,
In relation to the other homes.
Get it.
there's
Yes.
different ways to do this, you could even just take a Google Maps overview and like where your building's gonna be, or you could go on the site and put a couple of bricks on the ground or something that
stakes.
shows where the front corners of it are, so we could verify that when we're on the third.
I like
Okay.
that plan.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right.
And then these are yours, and that's it. If you wanna take the
I'll
options
take
back.
this.
Oh, let me give you your USB drive back.
Oh, yeah, you can't keep
Yeah,
that
well, I
one.
can't keep that. That's probably not a good idea.
I knew you wanted that one.
All right.
Okay, so we have a conceptual review for our next case. If I'm reading this right, that should be 1562 East Bolton. Did I read it backwards? Richmond, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Yeah, Richmond.
Yes, it's just it's too much, I know.
Do you have any documentation you'd like me to project up, or is this, I mean, this is plenty, but.
We do have it in PDF.
Yeah, if you'd like me. Oh. Watch out, we'll get to.
Is this so folks at home can see it?
Yes, that is exactly.
Okay.
And then I did forget, I apologize, I'm doing a couple things at once. Please introduce yourselves and then introduce the case. So the same thing, you have 3 minutes to kind of introduce the case. If you want to very quickly introduce yourselves as well, that would be helpful. Same format you just saw, kind of give us the overview of the case and the variances you need, and then we will kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, so good evening. My name is Aaron McDaniel. I'm a small real estate developer who's focused on missing middle housing. I have the two projects on the front at the top. This first one with the uplights, that's Sabriel. That's on the corner of Woodland and Greenway, a 27 unit that's been stabilized a little over a year and a half. And then the 18 unit to the right is Dura Lofts, which is a project that we're the developer and the contractor, the general contractor on. Which would be very similar to the subject property that we'll talk about this evening.
Where is that one?
Greenway,
Oh, that property.
yes. And then I have Mr. William Wells with me, architect. He also has specialized in the missing middle housing space. Remarkable guy to work with, very creative. We're both excited to be here, to be honest with you. I know that there's going to be some feedback about the project in particular. So we're looking forward to having a conversation and kind of working through the thoughts. So to introduce the project, is 1562 Richmond, which currently, if you can go back to the first page, you'll see there's a large dilapidated house. As long as I can remember, it's been vacant and out of use. This is it here. There's some city code violations on it. There's also an illegal ADU in the back of this property that we intend to tear down. So it includes not that house.
I might have to do.
Yeah, that's.
Oh.
If you can zoom out just a little bit, and maybe over to the right just a little bit. There's an alley. Yeah, you can kind of see the alley. That our intent would be to vacate the alley.
Is that a good house?
Exactly. So you can actually see on the other side of the alley, there's a huge, like, someone's put a wall there, a concrete wall there. So this is an alley that nobody uses, that I think will help to improve the quality of, and really frankly, the size of the units that are in this development. So what we want to do, if we can go to, this page here, A1. Our goal is to do 15 units, 3-story walk up with a pocket park in the front. So essentially these would be 1 bedrooms, 1 bathrooms. We partner with some affordable housing lenders on our previous projects. Our intent would be to do that as well. So that would limit our AMI. However, what we've seen is that these have been high quality places. They've been relatively easy to rent, and have been pretty stable. So I think there are some concerns that people have shown on other projects as well, that just tend to be unfounded. So I'm hoping that we can talk our way through it.
Any other comments? All right,
I guess maybe we can go down to A2.
we've got about 50, maybe a minute left.
Go, I'll take it. A2, one of the things, even though this is new construction, we want to respect the aesthetic of the neighborhood, which the best proof of concept would be the 2 projects that we've done up to this point, which are both all brick and all hardy. That would be the goal for this project. Their picture on the left is a courtyard. We're obviously going through an ideation process. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like at this point, but this is an inspiration for what it might look like. So I don't know if that includes necessarily the seating area. Is it just green space? Is it, is there a fire pit somewhere out there or something to that effect? Just to be clear, like, I live, work, and play in this neighborhood. And so I'm not experimenting as a builder coming from out of place. I want this to be a value add to the neighborhood. So I'm interested in feedback.
Do you have any extra copies for the folks in the audience?
We have one extra copy.
Would folks in the audience like to see any of the extra copies?
If anyone else wants one,
Yeah, we can, or in the Peter share. Sure, I would start the comments, but I'm gonna reserve the comments for, reserve that time for other folks, if someone wants to go first.
I'll start. So I have a lot.
Great.
Aaron, I'm gonna start with, I like your other two projects that you put on here. However, when I look at this, I see 5 units that you mentioned that there's gonna be 15 apartments. That is too much for Richmond, and I say that because Sabriel and the one on Greenway, 2-lane streets. Richmond is very tight when it's even semi-parked out. And I will add to what Aaron said earlier, the property has been vacated since the fall of 2012. And I've had to look at multiple issues as far as squatters, drug deals, people overdosing. So I'm ready more than anybody else on my street to see something happen. However, it's getting needs for that small street. That small street and that alley is in such disrepair that it cannot handle the amount of units you're proposing. I mean, me personally, I wish I could have bought it, but that property ideally cannot handle more than a duplex and a carriage house at maximum. Because it's one of the larger lots, but for the amount of units you're proposing, it's just not appropriate. But I have some questions that were brought to my attention, that I would like to go over.
Sure.
With elevations. How tall are you proposing that these buildings be compared to existing houses on either side and along?
So let me address and I'll answer the question. And I'll sell you the property if you want to buy it from me. But in terms of density, one of the things that I want to say is that it's very difficult for a neighborhood like ours to ask for density, affordability, and revitalization without being appreciative or accepting of smart density. And I think this is an example of smart density. This is what we tried to do here. Let me say that first of all. In terms of the height, on A2, you'll see where it says 35 above grade. And I believe that the code limit for this area is 36 feet. And so one of the things that I thought about was, from a height perspective, we could shorten the building and we could make it a flat roof, and it'd be a flat roof building, and it'd be closer potentially to the size of the other houses next door. I'm betting they're probably about 36. So you can kind of see if it's a foot above there, it may be a foot or two beyond that, if that makes sense. We could stay under there and be a flat roof, but what I would personally prefer is if we attempted to match the aesthetic of the neighborhood. That instead of these looking like a multifamily, that it truly really looks like 3 houses. Like, that's the goal for the missing middle philosophy, is that you have urban infill that is dense, like there's no doubt about it. This is dense development, but it matches the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And also think that when people think about density, the issues that they think about are parking, chaos, disorder. But I would also suggest that because we have a parking space for each one of these in the back that wouldn't exist if we did the carriage house and the regular house. that we are helping to address that. And then any on-street parking, I'm sure there will be on-street parking as well. It would be limited to the same as if we were to build a house or an ADU. So I think that we're trying to be thoughtful about addressing the density issue.
Well, and I appreciate that, because density was definitely on my list as well. But again, it's like, you know, even with the people that live there, they're not always gonna use the parking that's back there. Me personally, I would rather park off street, but I have a garage and I park on the street, just because it's easier and quicker access to and from my house. But with 15 units, I mean, even if you did 3 townhouses or whatever, I mean, it's still, the 15 units is just too much. I keep going back to, just because you said the one on Greenway is 18 units.
More really now, yes.
Yes, but like I said, Greenway and the other one on Woodland, those are 2 full lanes. Richmond is not. And then my next one,
Sorry, if I could speak to that. On Sabrio, which is a 27 unit, we got 28 parking spaces.
Yeah.
What I found is that everybody parks in the parking lot. We don't charge for parking. We don't have anything like that. If you drive down Greenway, you'll see that there are actually open spots on the street typically throughout the day. Like, and we've also found that our parking lot's really never full. Like, I've never pulled in the parking lot in a year and a half and not been able to find a parking space. And so sometimes we have evening workers, or whatever it is to be. And so I think the concerns about parking, I absolutely 100% think that most people will utilize the parking space in the rear, and that'll be felt. But there will be some people and or visitors, just like if you have a visitor at your house, they'll probably park on the street. But I don't think the concern about, hey, I'm gonna have to put money for my house is well founded. I don't think there's evidence that actually supports that.
well, I didn't say that, but, because, I mean, parking, the other issue was, and you kind of answered that already, was are there similar apartments with similar smaller streets that you've done this on?
So I've built 2 apartment buildings, Sabrio, and Dora Lifestyle. I've done, probably, I would say 50 or so projects in 43203, 43205, but mostly renovations.
Okay.
I guess I would also say that we have
Yeah, I mean, I got a question for you going.
You have more different issues, or?
I have one about, the demolition of the current existing house with regards to asbestos and lead and how you plan to remediate that, to prevent
Yeah,
contamination.
real quick, we did this at Sabrio. We had an asbestos person come in, check it out. There was asbestos there, and then put it to remediate it. They do it, they remove it, and they document what they did to guarantee that it was done the right way.
Could you, do a street view on this, and go up and down the block a little bit so we can see the other units, because height issue can be addressed if we see what else is there.
So this is the street. It does look a little tight. It's kind of hard to see as you go down the street because the house kind of disappears.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look like 2.5.
A lot of them are 2.5 long house. Go on the other
Check
side.
out our neighborhood.
Let me see the other side of the street.
Absolutely.
All right. So we have done this before, where there's 2.5 stories to go with a 3-story. It's only a little bit taller. It doesn't seem like it's an extraordinary stretch.
And this is a foot shorter, you said?
No.
No.
Maybe I misunderstood.
So what I'm proposing is about, I would say, approximately 3 feet taller.
Okay.
Now, if we wanted to, if the neighborhood said, hey, we hate that, and we want you to do a flat roof. Hey, let's do a flat roof. If that's what the neighborhood feels is the right thing to do.
Yeah, but we don't have flat roofs.
There's no flat roofs.
I know, that would appear to be more of a
And I asked just to
discrepancy
make sure I
than-
fully understand.
Than just being a couple of feet higher than.
And I would also leave that to maybe neighborhood feedback.
Joe, what is it about Richmond that makes you feel that this is too much? Like, when we look at this, I know this is just Google Maps and it's 6 years
Well,
old.
it's the width of the street in general. I mean,
Yeah.
Richmond is not full 2 lanes, but yet Woodland and Greenway are. I mean, they have 2 dedicated lanes.
So it's not a one-way street,
No,
but it's just narrow. Is parking allowed on both sides of the street? So there's just room really for one car.
yeah, because it's tight, because when they were paving the street, for example, when they were repaving the street, and they were still doing some work, like they just repaved the old corner store lot. It was parked up quite a bit that day, and the dump truck going down through there was very tight.
Sure, I understand. But given that there is room for a car to go, how does the street width impact whether it should be 3 doubles or these 15 units? Yeah, it's more units, but I wasn't understanding your logic.
It's just the increase in parking that would effectively be on the street, because like I said, you know, even though it has dedicated parking in the back, most people are gonna park on the street, because that alley is rough.
So let's look at the alley.
If we can, the problem is it won't, I mean, this is apparently not a true alley, maybe.
Well, that-
You might,
I think the alley's
go
on the
around
back.
the block,
Okay.
you have to go
The
around the block.
east-west alley.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
Behind
you
it.
got it,
Yeah,
okay.
you can.
Other way, or do I need?
Either or.
Oh,
Yeah, you can go that way and then turn left
okay.
Go up and then.
a little bit, yeah, there.
I was only really, I wasn't expecting to get street view of the alley, but if you can, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical
Typical crap.
Is this us here, or? No?
Yeah, that's an old photo.
Okay, yeah, this is 2019, unfortunately, so these alleys don't have updated,
Yeah, that fence isn't there anymore.
okay.
Okay. So
But this, I'm sorry,
what's the alley width? Do you happen to know?
I don't know exactly.
I mean, find out from the county.
I wish we had updated photos, but I guess site visit, it's kind of interesting to see what it looks like
Yeah, I
currently.
guess we'll look at it then.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, my reaction to the thing is these 3-story flats are basically the same thing. What's the name of the company that's doing those? If that's one plain slanted roof with a few of those, a couple of them.
Robert Ellis is
There
doing
you
a lot of
go,
triplexes.
yeah. So I mean, these are slightly nicer looking versions of the same concept that Ellis is doing. And it's like, I mean, well, I'm just saying the fact that they're putting a few of them together, back to back, about 5 of them. It is dense, I don't disagree with those projects, but it is saved somewhat by that courtyard. You know,
Yeah.
and it looks to me like is the units that are in the front that are closest to Richmond, are those set back from the street the same as adjacent properties? Or are they pushed forward? Because I will say that that project on Greenway, yeah, I saw, that's right. It does look like you're not pushing them any closer to the street than the adjacent properties. Because on Greenway you did, and that prompted me to vote against it, although I didn't carry the. But, I'm glad to see that's not what you're proposing here. The sight lines,
Yes.
adjacent properties. It is dense, it's a lot.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah, go
To
for it.
better understand, because the planning principles and density, I can't say a lot about this, but I want to understand some of the principles that you have. You said folks may not use the alley because it's rough. Is there any remediation to that maybe?
No, and when I've called the city of my own alley needing repair, I'm basically told, Oh, well.
I mean, these are concerns that hopefully, although
We all share.
and take into account. The other thing is, I don't want to call you out, but would it change your parking habits if you knew that there were more people on the street? Because I understand you have the privilege of having a place to park a garage and using the street, and it's easier. There are lots of reasons why that can be really important.
I mean,
But
there's a number of things that can happen, you know, the more units you add to a street, especially one smaller than Woodland and Greenway. I mean, my car's already, not this car that I have now, I've had a car besides White before when there weren't as many people living on the street at that time.
because we keep hearing the parking concerns, and we want to try to find solutions to it. So I just want to make sure I'm taking into account so that when our other planning members are here, we have something to talk about for future conversations and future projects as this is coming up as more and more of a concern. So I want to make sure that the concern is heard and that we're thinking about ways to relieve for
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Do you have any other questions before we? So, if you have any more questions, we'll open it to the audience, because it sounds like we may have some extended audience input.
I don't know if this project will be similar to the one on Greenway. The one that's currently being built, but the one that's currently being built is, I think the saving grace of this one is that courtyard, because the one on Greenway is shocking. It is just, it is like I don't know what you call it, it's just very, it's very big and it's very close to the road. And I don't know, I think this is nice because of that courtyard, it kind of lessens that impact, because it was visually shocking on that one.
Would it be?
Out of what we've done on Greenway, what I will say is that, you know, we got an option to try to stuff another 3 units in, and we could have done that. We wanted to have the courtyard for that purpose. Like, I don't disagree that this is a different street than what Greenway is and what Woodland is. But I think this type of design helps to respect that and break it up even more so. But I think for this courtyard, there certainly could have been, you know, 3 more units there, which, you know, financially would make sense. But I think from a design perspective, I think we can have a good project with 15 units, have a really nice, attractive, brand new courtyard that's welcoming, help to break up the visibility of it, and do smart design. So,
And I understand that, and I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate what you've done for the neighborhood. But my biggest thing is, if every single unit on here that's proposed parks behind project, they need to access that alley. And I know it's not your responsibility for that alley, but how would you go about that with the city to say, this is my project, but the alley is in disrepair and is not conducive to that amount of increased traffic?
well, I'm not gonna say, I'll say that I advocated to get Greenway, you know, repaved. That was important to me as we were going through that process. And if we weren't able to do that with the city, then it may be time for me and some other folks to go out there and clear the alley. You know, I intend to do that with Greenway, with Dora Loss. Like, if we're not able to get that cleared by the city, then we're gonna go out there and we're gonna clean it up as best we can. We're not repaving it, but some of the trees that are coming out there that just don't look great, that might take us a couple days to get out, I think it's worth doing, and it's a good investment in the neighborhood.
Okay, I understand that from like an initial perspective, but what about long-term?
So I don't know if you've ever seen me at Sabrio, but I'm the maintenance guy over there. Like, so I pick up trash every Monday. I water the flowers that are in that front box. I make sure everything's okay. Like, I care about these projects. These are projects of passion and purpose. I'll say that. So I have no interest or idea about like leaving. The only projects that I've done that are development projects are in Woodland Park, and I would love to do that for the rest of my life if that's possible.
And I understand that, but most of our homes that are here currently are over 115 years old. And you're not gonna be around for 115. So what is that? That's what I'm saying. This project would be here for a substantially long time.
Yeah,
And that's-
I'm not sure if that's a fair question to ask me how to maintain after I die.
It's not just that. The overall question is the long-term feasibility of the access to this project.
So Joe, look, I think we understand that issue, and it's a good point. There's a lot of really crappy alleys. To me, a certain amount of it is a business decision that he's gotta make, because if alley access is so bad that people don't wanna go back there with the cars, that's gonna affect the feasibility of the project long term. It's like, we can't solve that problem. But
I know.
I don't, huh?
Oh, I know we can.
And so it's like, I don't know that we can rely so heavily on that as a reason to give a thumbs up or thumbs down to developing more housing.
But the catch-22 is, the city has set themselves, if we have a housing shortage,
Yeah,
he's coming to try and address that,
yeah.
but yet the city is not keeping up with the infrastructure because
And I think
these
that's what
alleys were
we
never
We
meant
all
to be
agree
that.
we all agree with you about
maybe we can affect that with comments to the projects. If this continues to be an issue, I think that's part of why we're here, right? If we continue to see an issue that needs addressed in our neighborhood, it is partly our job to make sure that we are raising that up with the city and applicants that are coming, because often there is more you could do, and the folks that are building in the area. And it's great to say what the problem is, but we probably should partner on what a solution is. And if that's speaking with the city and speaking with you and not just the city, let's not try to shuffle around into one person.
But Joe is right, the city isn't listening.
Fair enough.
I've raised questions about a couple of alleys near my house too.
We have seen
You want
a
to-
number of projects come before us in recent years that they're utilizing the alley, but the alleys are not up to snuff.
So, maybe should,
I agree.
we probably should
Open it up.
guess.
Okay, it looks like there's a lot of audience members that would like to speak to this. I would love to limit the amount of time to 2 minutes. If we have more time per person, we can open that up, but just keep that in mind. We do ask that you stand and just, introduce yourself, recognize yourself in the camera, and then you would have 2 minutes to comment on your questions, comments, concerns, giving the applicant an appropriate amount of time to respond, if you could. But if folks want to, it looks like you're all kind of cordial, so whoever would like to go first, just go ahead and stand, and then we'll just kind of go in the order that seems respectful. Okay.
So one thing I noticed on here, the line that you have drawn on the property, that's actually going over the house to the left, like if you're facing it from the street. Is that the actual property boundary, or is that, my question, like, was this surveyed and that house is actually built on the property that you purchased?
And we haven't had a survey up to this point.
Okay.
This is just an indicating line. It has nothing to do with true boundary line.
Yeah, I was just curious, because it, like, just based on this, it kind of looks like the project would be infringing, like, into that house with the way this is drawn, so I just want to get a little clarification there. Second thing I wanted to ask is so with the parking lot in the back, that's a big, flat, paved area. What's your plan for water runoff drainage there? Because you've got some neighboring houses here that if you get water pooling up there, I know the elevation of this property from, being across the street for a while on it, it is like up from the road, but I'm not sure how that relates to the neighboring houses and their yards and possibly foundation with old houses. So that's something that we would address as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a call tomorrow from a civil engineer to talk specifically about this project. One of the things that we'll have to do is create a water retaining system, which we've done at Dorlofts, we've also done that at Sunrio. And so because this is, it's a pervious pavement, it's grass, water gets down in there. They want us to be able to account for whatever calculation is to match what it does now because of your non-pervious surface, like concrete or blacktop, whatever it is. So that'll be addressed during the construction process.
Has the city agreed to sell you the right of way?
No,
And you don't know if there's current easements there?
I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry.
If you'd like to stand and introduce yourself, you can also get the full 2 minutes if you'd like it. Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I'm, so kind of two things. One is on the point of the alley. I think it's actually a very kind of interesting issue where like maybe as a developer, you could have more influence with the city on like doing some improvements. And I don't know, maybe if it's like, you're like, hey, I'll contribute a little bit to like helping with the paving. I know that in other cities, like I used to live in New York City and they used to do that, where it'd be like, hey, I'm a developer, I'm gonna come build something big that's gonna have a big impact here. So I'm also gonna contribute by adding some, like in New York City, it'd be like obviously on Richmond, but like maybe you're gonna pave the back alley because you're like, hey, I want people to be able to access it and there's a nice thing for this. Or maybe you can put more pressure on the city. I've had like some success with that with other things I've worked on here where because you're improving the neighborhood, maybe they'll listen to you more than someone who just has like a single family home that they don't really care about. Just a thought. And then another question is like, why only 1 bedrooms, not any 2 bedrooms that could maybe be conducive to like families or like not just, yeah, why not just?
Yeah,
one
no,
bedroom?
and I appreciate that. I think we've all shared the concern about the alley. If you have something specific, can help us.
I just did 311 complaints a
Okay.
ton. And
Yeah.
I just have found that if you voice that you're like, hey, I'm trying to invest in the city here, I'm trying to make improvements, I'm putting my money in, like, city, can you put some money in to back me up here? Like, it takes a lot, but like sometimes that works more than like, you know, Joe Schmo on the street.
The field is the oil, so.
Exactly, yes. Squeaky
So
wheel
the
is
city,
money.
I'm in the same boat with everyone here, alleys are artists. And I'm sorry, what your second question?
Just like why all
Why all
one
one bedrooms?
bedroom only units, yeah.
So here specifically, parking is the size of the lot. We wanted to have a dense development to make sure that it's penciled out. And if we added additional bedrooms, we wouldn't be able to fit in the same amount. And we'd also, would only still have 15 parking spots in the back. Those aren't gonna change, it's gonna be 15 spots. And so we wanted one for every bedroom, that was the goal.
So is it just one person moving into these?
Typically, we have some couples, so I'll say, we've done 2 bedrooms at door lofts, the outside, those are 2 bedrooms, so that's kind of our experience, I would say, to see how that goes. So our 1 bedroom's done really well, they've been really, well rented out, they've been well maintained, I don't think they've been a nuisance. So we wanted to recreate a little bit of that here. So, you know, like honestly, I think also to the point of Richmond being a different type of street, if we had 2 bedrooms, that probably gonna be additional cars out there. So I think that was kind of the thought.
Hi, my name's Ann. Couple concerns. When you say affordable housing, I get a feeling like, oh, affordable housing, what does that mean? And when you have a volume of 18 units, 17? 15 units, and you say that you as a person get out there and take care of the property, well, that is wonderful, but that will exist while you're the person. Whereas when you are not the person anymore and somebody else has the caretaking of that property and it's got 15 units, I just see that it could be something, there's young couples moving into those neighborhoods, fixing up those houses, and kind of the whole thing that they're doing down by Governor Place. But I just see, I don't know, to say that it's going to be beautiful and great for 3 years, 5 years, and then that moves on.
Yeah, I would say that.
15 units is a lot of
Yeah.
people to take care of.
So to provide context to conversations now. So when I say like single housing, it's a couple different things. One of the things is just where does the average person live? That's what we're kind of like. So if you hear like LIHTC, low income housing tax credit stuff that's government subsidized, those provide a different type of challenge. But we're not like high end in the sense of like we got Peloton machines and espresso machine, you know, workout rooms, anything like that. We're trying to have density, but really nice places. So if you're looking at some of the units we've done, both of our projects will have quartz countertops. In door lofts, we have skylights on the 3rd floor with vaulted ceilings. Like inside the unit for unit, it matches the quality of any other unit. And maybe even better in some cases, I would say, than any other unit that would describe themselves as like luxury or high end. So we tried, done LP and brick on the exterior, which I think lends to the long-term value of the projects, whether I own it or whether someone else does. But, you know, again, like I'm not in the neighborhood to, you know, I'm a business person, yes, I wanna make money at this, but I'm not here to flip a quick buck, get out and leave the neighborhood where it's. I want this to be a good long-term, and I intend to keep it forever, to be honest with you. I may sell it if the right number comes along, you know, I'll be honest with you about that. But, you know, my goal is to be a partner to you guys. I don't wanna leave any of my stuff. That's.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm not gonna stand because I don't wanna tower over him at all. I just had some like a clarifying question. One, I wanna say like, we really appreciate the fact that you like live and play in the neighborhood and you seem to take passion in your work. And like, I have no doubt this will be a beautiful project and you'll take pride in it and make sure that you're a good partner to us. Like one of my biggest, I guess, like concerns initially hearing about the project is like, from my understanding, this would require like a rezoning, right? Like we're going from essentially like a single family area into making it something that's more like an R2 or R3 that is suitable for an apartment complex, which like they have these zoning rules, and I understand, you know, City of Columbus wants to expand that for the density piece, but like, you know, I see apartment complexes all over. I've lived in apartments all my life. You know, they make sense on streets like Greenway and Taylor and all of these other streets. And then I look at like a quiet residential neighborhood like Woodland and it like, or sorry, Woodland, Richmond. And it, you know, full transparency, like I think that it just like, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Like you're just plopping a bunch of dense houses into this like very narrow street, which like to Joe's point, we already struggle to get past each other. We have, you know, kind of a semi-dangerous alley, like somebody broke into our neighbor's garage a few months back. I don't know if you heard about it and burned it down. Like, it's just, you know, I can see why people might not want to utilize the alley. We've got concerns that way. You know, I'd love to hear more about like the lighting situation, like fencing situation, like ways to make it a safer area that way to encourage the individuals to, you know, park back there. Another kind of point too is a lot of our houses on the street, we aren't fortunate to have garages nor the funds to build garages, right? Like we rely on street parking. And so when I think about, you know, 15 units, let's say, you know, some of those are moving in with their significant others, that's doubling, you know, potentially the parking. You mentioned that one that was an 18 unit with 27 spots versus a 15 unit with 15 spots. That's my only concern, because we have the potential of having almost 15 potential additional cars on top of all the other kind of nuances that we deal with already.
So from a safety perspective, we have cameras at all of our, very intentional about bright light. So this is an urban area. We've had break-ins, we've had car break-ins, in which we over-communicate with our residents. We try to identify who they are. We file police reports. But I don't know if there's a perfect way to ever get out of, in any neighborhood really, to say, hey, somebody's not going to break in a car with a valuable thing. So the best thing I tell my residents is like, don't leave anything valuable within eyesight of breaking. So with that being said, like, I would also welcome everybody in Woodland Park, near this area, to look at our current project and also to look at, you know, our previous project. You can see exactly, like, you don't have to guess about what my goal is, because my goal is to deliver something that's an improved version of both of those projects.
I guess I'd love to see too, if you had examples of neighborhoods like ours that are more equivalent to your other projects, because your other projects are, you know, truly in areas that it makes more sense from like a zoning perspective and street traffic, whereas like ours is like truly a single home family neighborhood. So like, I guess if you have like, I'd love the opportunity to see projects. I've lived in Columbus for 13 years and I've truly never seen one like this. So I guess like helping to visualize it might help a little bit better.
Sure. I think I was coordinating with some solid in that process, and I can bring some examples of what he's doing this in
But Savriel's on like a more prominent street, correct?
Yeah, these Richmond is not the same. I'm not trying to say it's exactly the same. It's not. It's different. But I still think this is smart enough.
Can I make one point before I take the next comment? This is a planning thing, and I think part of what we're here for is also education. One of the things that I'm learning, I'm not a builder, I'm not a developer, I live in this neighborhood, I've been in this neighborhood for a while now, and trying to get better at doing this, is that one of the benefits of smart density, if this can be defined as such, I'm gonna try not to, take sides, whether it's for the folks that live in the neighborhood or anything, is that more eyes on the street, more folks that care about a neighborhood tends to decrease acts of crime when folks know that people. You brought up a really good point about lighting and how that'll work. So I think that'll be really important to see those other developments, those other projects that you've done, and maybe speak to that. I do also want to highlight that this case will come back during the general body meetings. I want to invite all the folks here who may not be aware of how that process works. There usually would be a planning vote here today because planning is not here quorum. There won't be a vote. But there will be a vote in the zoning site visit, and then at the general body meeting, the application will come through. So you will get another opportunity to speak to the project when the full commission votes on it. So between that time, I would just always ask folks to continue the dialogue, please. You care about where you live, right? You care about this project, so please keep that going. And then I'll stop there. And then if there are other folks in the audience that also want to have 2 minutes, we still got 2 minutes for each of you.
Evan, first question is maybe more for the committee. Is it normal for an alley to be vacated and then built that far into, in terms of how far into the public right of way that building finishes now?
Evan, I will tell you, I've been in my home almost 15 years, and I honestly thought that was the driveway for this property.
Yeah.
Just like I thought the driveway. But
So it's an alley.
It's actually an alley,
Okay.
which I did not know until tonight.
What might be helpful is, do you have any, because you're asking a question, do you have any information about that for him?
Yeah. So we had, I've done this one time before, and it was, I don't know, have you seen the alley?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live next door.
Oh, I got you. Okay. All right, cool. So you've definitely seen it. So, it's bad. It's in non-use, just like across the street. There will be a boundary survey that we submit to the city. We'll go through the process of being review, and then we determine the price. And that's how it went last time, at least. The only single time that I've done it was, it was a long process. I think they would send you a postcard and say, hey, do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? All that stuff.
Still got a minute and a half too. I want to
My only other concern, at least at this moment, is regarding the demo. You mentioned testing for asbestos. Is there anything else you would test for, like lead or mold? And one of the reasons I say this, being next door with a young daughter who's 4, I just don't want my property contaminated with stuff that could be harmful to our health. It's my understanding that demo crews use, well, if they're good, they use modern techniques like wetting to keep the dust down. So wondering if you would talk to them about making sure they do that, and any other testing or remediation you would do, in addition to letting us know the day and time the demo will be done, like ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to over communicate. There's no doubt about it. Like, to be clear, construction is messy sometimes, and I'd rather to hear from you directly and just say, hey, I got an issue over here, so we can address it as quickly as possible. In terms of testing, there's a process that we'll go through for any development, which would be a phase 1, and it will be a soil testing. Test for things like gas, leak oil, for all these hundreds of different things. And if there is any potential issue, even historically, it'll have to go to a phase 2 and then a remediation process. What I would anticipate here is that there's not going to be any issues because it's never probably been a gas station before. So we'll go through the process of testing to making sure that we completely rule it out. The asbestos thing, if I would had a flip of a coin, it's a 50-50 thing. It's a super old house. There might be asbestos, but it would be remediated by a professional who will provide us a warranty and a non-liability clause. So,
But nothing with that.
we would touch for that as well. Yeah, we would touch for that. So, the same way.
And then can those of us in the immediate vicinity be notified the day and time the demo will take place?
Yeah, I think the further along that we get in the process, I think it might just make sense for me to just be at the neighborhood meetings, and just say, hey, here's where we're at, here's what we're looking at. There's never going to be a perfect timeline, but I hear what you're saying. And also, I'm happy to provide you with my cell phone. only direction if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that. We'll just
You live in this house right here?
No, the other one.
This house?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'd like your email address and your contact number.
Sweet.
Let me just say something in response to the question that was asked. I'm in the housing business too, so I happen to know this, that it is typical only to really abate asbestos. If there's lead paint, there's probably some lead paint in that, given the age of the house. But asbestos gets into the air if you knock something down, and that's the concern. Lead doesn't really do that. Lead will go just down. You know, you knock something down, it'll get into the soil, which you don't really want, but it's not hazardous to adjoining properties the way asbestos is viewed. So it's not typical to abate lead in a building you're gonna tear down, or mold for that matter. It's just the asbestos that we legally have to abate.
So there are city requirements.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's federal, state, local, I mean, everybody's, looks at the environmental impact of a demolition, but, they'll have to follow the law to get a demolition permit, it's good to hear from them that they know that they're getting into that, and they're gonna have to do that, but, you're probably not at risk.
I appreciate that. With your experience, I don't have any experience in this area. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we went through like, talking to the people that are gonna tear down sort of towers. Now, that's a different level of concern, because you've got 15-story high rises there, and that would create so much dust in the air due to the height of it. They're gonna dismantle it rather than knock it down, but with a house, you just aren't dealing with that kind of thing in terms of dust clouds.
So lower risk, but still the right.
But asbestos, you don't want traveling 100 feet, so they'll remove that.
I just have
I
two.
want to recognize, yeah.
In regards to the demolition, how do you plan to protect Miss Mormon's house that is very close to the current structure?
So we have a professional demolition contractor that we've used, and we rely on them to figure out the right way to do that the best way. There's feedback that you have or thoughts about how to do that best?
No, it's just,
If you could hold that for after I thought you had a question about the Woodland Park Association.
well, that was my final question. I spoke to Kendall yet about getting on for January's meeting.
Yes, yeah, we're scheduled. He's also seen the plans as well. I've also sent him to Scott Kaplan as well, and talked to him about this project. He's provided feedback, so yes.
I thought that's important because you also have another option for folks that live in that area to kind of speak to this and have any concerns met or questions asked. And then I see someone else in the back. Please just introduce yourself, and then you get 2 minutes as well.
Yeah, I'm Eric Holtzapfel, across the street for 9 years. My question is on the opportunity for infrastructure upgrades. I'll kind of touch on all of them. We can talk them individually. So sidewalks, sewer lines, an opportunity for backflow preventers. Have you seen that on projects done before because they're in the area? The one thing I can say about my house and some of the plumbing stuff I've seen is, I've peeked in the manhole covers with the city coming in every time, and they show me how old everything is. I've had my sewer line scoped. It's from 1919, clay tile. It's very fragile. And essentially what we're doing here is doubling the amount of, toilet flushes, showers, that sort of thing. So the sewage piece is kind of an issue. And I do believe that there's like some sort of, you wouldn't see this in a new area, but where water runoff goes into our sewer lines, essentially, that's basically separated in a newer neighborhood, where ours, it's water runoff equals sewage in our basements, essentially. Yeah, backup. So if there's any opportunity there, I don't think anything water lines would be an issue, at least for other residents. I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, anything on the infrastructure side and improvement to the whole street.
Yeah, sidewalks and kind of the space we do. They're doing off, so we can take a look at those as well. So what our civil engineer will tell us is that in order to accommodate for the extra volume of, black water, sewer water, whatever it happens to be, you have to have two things. You have to have, and I'm talking about like sanitary lines first. They have to be larger. And I don't know exactly what the measurement calculation is, but they may have to go from like 2 inches to 4 inches, something to that effect. He'll make the calculation. We'll submit it to the city, make sure they're okay with it, and they'll sign off on it before we get our permit. But then in terms of sewer, it's kind of what I spoke to earlier, is that we'll have this huge retainage thing, like, it's like a big bottle, right? That it holds all the water, and instead of like water just running off, it'll slowly leak out over a long period of time. So I can send you more information about that, but that's going to be a pretty costly part of the project and a requirement for the city. Yeah.
Do you have a combined sewer there? Do you not have separate storm and sanitary sewers?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
No. Well,
You'll have to find out.
you'll have to find out. The civil engineer will determine that. The issue he's talking about water retention, that's a code requirement. He'll never get a permit with, the civil engineer. Whether they put it under the parking lot or whether they put it in, underground in the green space, but probably go into parking lot. And so whatever the impervious surfaces, including the roofs and the pavement areas that they're adding, they calculate how much runoff there is. Like if there was big rain, like we had 2 inches of rain over a couple of days, they have to take that into account and be able to have an enclosure that captures all that water and, as he's saying, only run off into the sewer system, the storm sewer, an amount that it can handle. And so that's just something the code takes care of that. It's not like we deal with that or you have to worry about it. They just won't be able to get permits without solving that. And it's expensive to build an underground retention system, but there's no choice. Go above 3 units or something, you have to do that. So it's just a code requirement.
And I'll share your concern as well, just about the backups. We've been investing in the neighborhood for, I think, about 10 years now. So the houses that we have, like pretty much when we go in to rehab a house, we're like, hey, we need to replace the sewer line. I haven't seen it. I don't need to see it. I know I need to replace it. Right? Clay tile, we've seen that being remarkably fragile. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
We done?
Anyone
Get through
else?
everyone's
The last comment before I end any more comments is, for those folks that will be coming back potentially to speak on this, just an educational point is our job is like a recommendation to the city. All those requirements that you spoke about, some of your concerns will be like city mandated requirements just to build, if that gives you any level of confidence. Anything we do here is not gonna like allow him to build without any of those requirements. I think it's a good educational piece, just to kind of understand like what's going on. What we're talking about, or would be talking about if planning was here is like, does this make sense in the neighborhood with Columbus growing and requirement of density to kind of balance housing stock? Like, does it make sense? And you all have concerns about whether or not it makes sense, and that's for kind of everyone here to consider. And then I'll leave it at that. And what date would we be scheduling the zoning sessions?
He doesn't give us.
I am so sorry. I completely forgot.
He doesn't give
Yeah,
us-
you don't. Yeah, so I will. This is very early on in the process. This is a conceptual review, basically to tell us what's going on. We actually don't have to have a vote today because we're on the project. So this is you have plenty of time to have more things. Yeah, so we don't need to do that. I'm so sorry.
We're here seeking feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've
So
got
this
it.
is the time to get it.
Yeah.
So we've got it. I have no more comments.
The only final comment that I want to make is basically directed at us, is that since I don't sit on general body,
Yeah.
like I would really feel that as a commission, the city needs to be pressed, because I got chewed out by Councilwoman Favor about the lack of housing in Columbus, and the city is complaining about it, but yet we have developers that are bringing developments, but they're not restructuring the infrastructure in these alleys that are being accessed, and it really needs to be addressed, because, I mean, yes, we want development, but you gotta have the infrastructure behind it to back it up. And we just don't have it because the city's not invested.
We all agree with that too. You know, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes we talk about what could the commission do if it wasn't just so focused on reviewing development projects, but certainly one of the areas is to press the city on inadequacies in, you know, a number of areas, including alleys and, cleaning the streets and the condition of sidewalks and, you know, things like that, not just, you know, public safety issues, but also things of that nature. Older neighbor. Is that enough reason, though, to not help back up in terms of housing units? It's like, that's a tough issue, very tough issue, but.
But to press them, we need help. Like she said, random Joe Schmo, even me am a random Joe Schmo if I go up and say I have a problem with this. But if folks are coming to these meetings, giving us feedback that we can take to the city, it does stand to reason that it carries a little bit more force and weight. So just like you have concerns about this project, we hope that you will continue to stay engaged in concerns and comments and feedback that we need, please,
No,
about
it's
any
great,
other
it's
concerns.
great
in the city,
that
so
you
we can
all
forward
come
them.
to a conceptual review meeting, much less,
Should speak volumes about our concerns.
Yes.
it does. No, we notice those things for sure, so.
Thank you for being here. That's it.
that's it for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will take, do I even need a motion to close the meeting?
I would move to adjourn.
Okay, so moved Chris, for a second, Katz, all in favor, all opposed, none, the meeting is now officially closed.
I just really like